Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our latest cinema chat. Today I'm chatting about, is Spider-Man leaving the MCU? It was reported today by Deadline that Marvel Studios and Sony will be ending their partnership involving Spider-Man being in the MCU over financial differences. So up to now, we've had Marvel Studios led by Kevin Feige kind of leading the Sony Spider-Man movies to this point. The two that have been released by Sony being Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. Kevin Feige had creative involvement with that and helped them help Sony to develop those stories in order to fit into the MCU and also including that same Spider-Man in the MCU movies of Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. So yeah, this is very disappointing news for me, at least. I love having Spider-Man in the MCU. It is still possible that they'll come to some kind of resolution, but it seems that Sony doesn't want to share in the financial wealth that has come from their couple MCU Sony Spider-Man movies. So what it was reported in the Deadline article was that Marvel Studios for the last few months has been trying to renegotiate this partnership deal that they have with Sony when it comes to the Sony Spider-Man movies. Up to now, from what I read, it was that Marvel Studios got a 5% of its first ticket gross of each of the Sony Spider-Man movies, as well as I believe Marvel also has all the merchandising rights to the Spider-Man character as well. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm fairly certain that's always been a thing, that was one of those things that they sold off. But yes, so Marvel Studios wanted to renegotiate that deal to being a 50-50 split of the financial income from the Sony / Marvel Studios or the Spider-Man MCU movies. They wanted to split that, and they wanted to bring all the Sony Spider-Man properties into the MCU officially, and Sony declined. So yeah, Sony did not want to share in the financial grosses from the Sony, the Spider-Man in the MCU verse movies. So yeah, that's why this partnership seems to be coming to an end, at least according to sources, according to Deadline. So I'm very disappointed about this. I understand why Marvel doesn't want a little bit more of a bigger chunk. They are doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the last two Spider-Man Sony movies. They did all the creative work, the story stuff, and fitting it into the MCU. Sony's just getting a big boost from Spider-Man being back in the MCU, being part of this united universe, this cinematic universe, and that's just evident by the fact that, the Amazing Spider-Man series just before that was coming out, the MCU was still coming out, failed, and that's why they had to make this deal. And I get Sony, after having the success with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and actually even Venom a little bit globally, that was a the global box office for Venom at least did it well enough for them to get a sequel. So I get why Sony thinks that they can also do it on their own, but I don't think they're 100% accurate about that. So I think it's a little bit of a mistake. I do still think that it's possible to come to some kind of arrangement or some kind of new deal where Disney gets a little bit more of the financial grosses from the Spider-Man Sony movies, while still helping Sony to guide the Spider-Man Sony movies. It's very confusing. There's so many S's. But yeah, so this is, like I said, very disappointing news, at least for me. It's still possible it'll get resolved, but we've got two big corporations. Sony kind of really needs this money. They can't really be giving away $500 million for a movie. So I get that, because they're not like the MCU, they're not like Disney, at least. They're not having multiple billion-dollar movies a year. Disney this year alone has $5 billion movies already. We're not even at the end of the year, and they have $5 billion movies to Sony's one. But Sony's only one is also the only one that's an MCU movie, technically, being Spider-Man Far From Home. So it's very interesting, the fact that Sony thinks that they can still do it on their own, but given last year, the fact that they had a little bit of success, they had pretty good success with the last couple of the Spider-Man movies they did on their own, Venom and Into the Spider-Verse. I can see why they have some confidence in that, but I'm still really curious to see where it goes from here. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on this news. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought about this deal ending. Do you think they're going to make up and come to some kind of arrangement, or do you think Sony's going to is actually just going to go off on their own and try to do the Spider-Man on their own? And be sure to let me know how you just feel in general about Spider-Man leaving the MCU. But yes, thanks again for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.